was always more than just a gig for me. You know, I struggle with the idea of doing this video and what to say and how to say it, because most people come here for bass lessons, that kind of thing. Show me something, teach me something, break this down, that type of thing. But every now and again, sometimes it's good to learn some things beyond your playing skill. And I feel like this might be one of those videos that most musicians don't want to see. It's hard enough to try to get people to notice the videos that you put out on a regular basis, let alone giving them something that could possibly challenge what they're already thinking or what they already have their mind set on. But I want to challenge you today, if you're watching this video, to do some introspection, to look inside yourself to see if there's something that you could be adjusting. I remember when I started playing music a long time ago, and I won't take you through my life story. It was always about the music initially when I started. I mean, I was just, in a sense, obsessed with just playing and learning music. I started on guitar, and that's all I would do every day, every time I had a chance. The older I got, the more I spent time at my home church playing and just working on music. And it was always about the music and the music. But the more I matured, and the more I grew, the more I experienced more success in my relationship with God, the music began to shift for me. And I'm fast forwarding through a lot of years. Obviously, this didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen over a span of 5-6 years. It's been years in the making. But the thing that I've come into the knowledge of over all of these years is that it's always been all about God. But somehow along the way, I lost focus of that. I lost sight of that. And I made it about the gig. And I figured it out, you know, as I was going, as I wrote in my book, 10 Ways to Success. I wrote about some of these gigs that I would do as a professional that didn't quite line up with my spirit. That didn't quite make me feel good about what I was doing. And I couldn't, my spirit couldn't sit right with it. And these most of the time were secular gigs. But what about the church situation? That's what I want to kind of hit on today. What about us who still play for church? We think we kind of get a pass because, well, I'm in the church. I'm not playing in the secular world. Not saying that either one makes you better or worse. Hear me clearly. But sometimes we can have this pride that says, well, I'm not out there doing that, so I should be good. But the thing that I noticed later on in life is that you can be corrupted playing in ministry. And oftentimes, most musicians, we don't notice it because when you're in a thing, it's hard to see the thing. And oftentimes, many people have made ministry the God as opposed to God being the God over the ministry. You can easily place ministry in front of God himself. You can start to become cynical with different things that are allowed to go on in church, things coming from leadership, things coming from your peers, things coming from just you interacting. And some of these things can become normal for you. We can normally complain. We can normally joke and just kind of have a good time, as most musicians do, especially when we get on those talkback mics. I mean, it can turn into something, if you're not careful, that's degrading to who you say you are. And before you know it, you're playing and you're singing songs and you're doing all these things that represent something that you know nothing about. And I personally have been guilty of that, where you're leading people as a worship leader, you're leading people somewhere that you're not experiencing with them. You're leading them to a place because you've done this so many times. It's become common practice for you. Like, you know how to take people to the presence of God, but you don't get to experience it with them because you're too caught up in yourself in the moment. Now, don't confuse the presence of God with an emotional feeling. Now, sometimes you can become emotional in the presence of God, but sometimes when you realize the true presence of God and you start really playing and spending time with him, you start to notice that, wait a minute, it's something different about this. That's a reverence that should be happening here. for us musicians, we feel the emotional part of it. We know the musical high that we get from it. We know what chord to play to send people into this type of mode, or to send them up, so to speak, or when it's time to do a shout or a bump, that kind of thing. We know what to do, but oftentimes we miss the actual presence of God. We're sensitive to it. We know what it feels and sounds like, but oftentimes we're not yielded. And when I'm talking about yielded, so now when all of this moment is over with, is your life yielded to him? I acknowledge his presence, but is my life yielded to the presence of God? Because what I notice in my own relationship, the more I yield myself to the presence of God, the more I'm uncomfortable with being who I thought I was. The more yielded my life becomes to God, that goes back to Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all its righteousness. Well, what is the kingdom of God? The kingdom of God is my life being yielded to him as the sovereign king of my life. That means I'm yielding everything. I'm giving it up to him as the sovereign king of my life. And most of us musicians and most of us people in church in general, we say that we are kingdom citizens and we're this and we're that, but honestly, we're just kind of doing our own thing and smearing God on the top of it. It's almost like putting a sandwich and putting a little mayonnaise and, all those types of things. We're smearing some stuff over the top of it, but that's not the main thing. God is like an afterthought for most of us. When we do church, we do church. And that's become a real problem. And I'm like, God, I don't want to do church. I don't want to just be good at performing. I don't want to be good at putting on a show. But when it comes to my private life, I don't know you. Worse than that, me getting to you finally, and you say, depart from me, I never knew you. Now, I want to encourage some of you guys who are listening to me today to check out, when you get time, Ephesians 4. Read the whole chapter. It's not that long. When you get time, check out Ephesians 4 and see if anything in that chapter convicts you personally, because I don't want to point out anything because I don't know what your thing is. But if you are a believer or a born again believer or somebody who's just there playing at church, getting a check, be careful, because God is real. Jesus is real. And we're going to have to stand before him and give an account for all the things that we've said, all the things that we've done, all the things that we played, even the things that we play in church sometimes that don't necessarily lead people's minds to the thoughts of God. And I know I'm on some dangerous grounds here, because many will say, well, it's just music. Well, it's more than just music. That music has a spirit associated with it. And if it's not the spirit of God, you got to ask yourself, well, what is this spirit? And what is this spirit influencing me to do? The vibe feels great. The groove feels great. And I've been guilty of it. And I've enjoyed it, playing certain grooves because the groove feels great or the song sounds good. But at the end of it, what does it cost me? You were bought with a price. And if God gifted you with this gift of music, the thing you should be trying to do is Colossians 3:23. One of my favorite verses, Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men. And we have to be careful when we're in these settings, because oftentimes these settings are being led by people who do not have the Spirit of God. So don't take it lightly, and please hear me when I say we have to be responsible with the gift. It's more than just a gig. You have to be responsible with it. Not only that, people are watching you, and we're setting a standard. We're telling people who are coming in off the street or people who are coming in for the first time for this God church experience, We're telling them if this is something worth pursuing. By the way we live our life should be a witness to these people who see us, these people who come in, these younger musicians who are watching us. I don't want to be the reason why someone falls away because of the lack of integrity, the lack of accountability in my own life, something that I can't just put myself down because I got too much of me. I don't want to cause someone to stumble because of my lifestyle. So it's a challenge to all who will listen, all who are watching me today. I know this is not the typical grooves and motivation, but I felt like I could put something on your mind today. So if you are one of those people who profess, hey, I'm playing for God and God, thank God for my gift, well, then why not try to live a life that's pleasing to Him, that shows the gratitude for the gift that He's given to you? Listen, guys, I'm Jermaine Morgan. You've been watching Grooves and Motivation. I pray that I've said something helpful to get you to thinking today and to also help you in this life and this journey, because we are here for a purpose and we are not our own. So allow the gifting that He's placed in you be a blessing to someone else as you lead other people through your life to Him, Jesus Christ. That's it for me today, guys. Thank you for watching. I'm out. Peace.